Hello and welcome back to Hearts of Iron 3 and Black Ice, and this is going to be another one of my guide series of videos where I, AFG, talk to you on a lovely internet video about how to play a game that's over a decade old. And in today's thrilling episode of Guides, we're going to be doing Order of Battle. Quite an interesting part of Hearts of Iron 3, and part of the reason why I don't like Hearts of Iron 4 as much as I like Hearts of Iron 3 is you don't get to have the sheer amount of Order of Battle porn that you do in this particular game. So let's talk briefly about what Order of Battle is meant to be simulating, because I think that's really the easiest way of explaining it. So at a theatre level, you have the General Staff. That's sort of Hitler in his bunker, so to speak. And Mussolini and, you know, whoever it is in command of the entire army, and then their general staff of generals that actually send out the orders and things. So that's the first tier. Then you have army group level, which will hold a specific either area. So, for example, you might have an army group in control of France. You might have an army group in control of a particular front. Something along those lines. So an army group example from World War II would be Army Group Vistula, which was holding this area of Germany as the Soviets closed in on Berlin. Finally, you have army level. So that should be quite self-explanatory. That is, for example, just a single army, and that can be however many units, divisions that would form an army. Generally, you're probably thinking between about 100 to 200,000 men, at least based on my experience of the writings of quite a few different military authors. I think 100,000 to 200,000 seems to be a pretty good, well-rounded number. For certain other nations like the Soviets or the Chinese, obviously that's probably higher or lower, although the way that the Soviets set up their army groups, etc. during World War II isn't always the best comparator. Finally, you have corps level. Now, corps can have up to 5 divisions within them, and you can have, you know, again, corps commands are, for example, Germany, they often had corps with 1 or 2 divisions in only, whereas the Soviets, they didn't really use corps command structures. So, yeah, British units had about 3 to 4 divisions per corps, and the Americans, they favoured quite large corps. So, yeah, the amount of units that you want to put into a corps entirely depends on a couple of different factors that we'll touch on in a moment. And then finally, division level. So these are the individual units of an army, and then underneath divisions, you obviously have regiments. Oh, sorry, brigades, and then underneath brigades, you have regiments. So one thing that Hearts of Iron 3 does really well is it models a full command system from bottom to top. It doesn't bother with a regimental level. So Hearts of Iron 4, I believe, does model regiments, and then brigades, and then divisions. Then it jumps, so it misses corps level, jumps up to army level, so almost the Soviet style system, and then from army it just goes straight to theatre. So it takes out the corps level and the army group level, I believe, for streamlining purposes. I think I've got that right. It's been a while since I've played Hearts of Iron 4. Probably should have checked that beforehand, but that's how I believe it works. So that's the basics of Hearts of Iron 3 and how you set up your units. So for anyone that's watched me for a while, I've gotten a lot of comments in the past from people asking me what all of the lines mean, why I move my units into certain particular corps levels, why I organise things the way I do. So this will just give a very brief rundown of that. So at a division level, when we're talking about order of battle, there's several things that come into play. There's traits, skill, and radio. Now, traits are what the leader of the unit puts onto the unit as bonuses. Now, they can take the form of experience bonuses, they can even be negative, they can be dig-in bonuses, they can be bonuses for certain terrain types, things of that nature. Then you have skill, and skill impacts what each particular level actually contributes. And then finally you have radio. So you see this green line that flows from the core to the division setup. That's the radio range. So that's simulating the ability of this particular core level command to give directions and commands to the divisions under its control. If my division was, let's say, over here, and my core hadn't moved up with the divisions, then they're not going to be able to get the command bonuses from the core level. That's what these lines mean and why they flow in the way they do. You see that theatre flows into army group. Army group flows into army. Army flows into core. Core flows into division. And the longest radio range is on the theatre level, and then it gets progressively lower as time goes by. So you've probably wondered in the past, if you've played Hearts of Iron 3, possibly, why your division to core radio length always seems to be the first one to break if you don't move this up. And that's just simulating the fact that the best radios and the best encryption ability would be at a theatre level, and then it would get progressively shorter range as you go down the command tiers. So let's just talk about what each tier does. So at a divisional level, your commander, based on their skill, is giving a combat efficiency increase per level of skill. Now, in base Hearts of Iron 3, that's 5% per level of leader skill. So in this case, my division unit here is getting a 15% combat effectiveness bonus from my commander here because my commander is a level 3. If, for example, we were to take a look at a different commander, maybe, I don't know, where's someone with a much higher skill level? Just trying to find someone from the Italy campaign that's a much higher skill. So here we go. Giovanni, our number 1 commander here, is a level 6 commander. So therefore, he'll be providing a 30% bonus. So obviously, you want to try and train up your commanders as much as possible to increase the bonus. And certain nations will have better commanders than others at the start of the game. So Germany at the start of the game has the best commanders overall. They have a lot of level 4, level 5 and level 6 commanders. Do they have any level 6? I think they do have a couple of level 6 commanders. As well as a lot of level 3s. Now, the main rank and file of your army, generally I find, is level 3 and 4 commanders. The more of them that you can have, the chances are you're going to probably outdo most opponents. There's a lot of level 0, 1 and 2 level commanders on lots of the smaller nations, and the Soviets have a lot of lower level commanders. Then you jump up 1 tier, and you get to core level. And at core level, you're getting an improved chance of a reserve division entering combat based, once again, on the leader skill level. Now, I'm not 100% sure on how the percentages work with this particular one. To be honest, of all of the things, this is, I would say, probably the weakest one. The reserve impact of joining combat is never that much of a problem. Generally, your units are going to engage in combat quite quickly anyway. After that, you have the army level. And that increases organisation by an amount per level of skill from the leader. So, for example, this guy is a level 4 commander, and therefore he'll be giving a 4% organisation bonus to all of the units underneath that command. Sorry, I should just make that clear. So the core level, all of these units are being impacted by this. At an army level, he's impacting all of the core commands as well as the divisions under them. So it's a real bonus. You can see, as you build out your order of battle, you're really starting to see these bonuses stack up. So the larger your order of battle, in a way, the better the bonus structure is going to be. So that's why I always build quite a large order of battle, even for nations maybe where it's not quite as important. But yeah, you get an organisation bonus for army commands. Now, the single most important one, I would say, from an overall perspective, is the army group command. Now, at this level, you get a decrease in supply consumption per level of skill from the leader. Now, I believe it's 5%. I know it's 5% in base Hearts of Iron 3, and I'm pretty sure it's exactly the same in in Bice, in Black Ice. So, for example, Riccardo Pantamelli here is giving he's skill level 4, nearly level 5, so therefore he'll be giving a 20% reduction in supply consumption across all of the units, so at the army level all the way down, all of these units will be benefiting from that supply consumption decrease. And for example, if we were to look at Rodolfo Graziani, this guy's a level 5 commander, so therefore he's providing a 25% decrease, which is pretty important when we're trying to look at the supply consumption in the supply section. We want that to be as low as possible on supply so that we can maximize our upgrades, reinforcement, production, etc. So as you can see, that's something really important. So nations like Germany, with higher skilled commanders than, let's say, France at the start of the game, they're not only getting a combat benefit from that, they're also getting a production benefit. So you always want to make sure that all of your units are fed into the order of battle and are benefiting from these bonuses, so that you're not only impacting the combat side of things, you're also impacting your production. And then finally, you have the theatre level. So theatre level reduces the stacking penalty per level of leader skill, and I believe that it reduces it by 1% per level. So for example, Carly Spatoko, let's go with that. Level 4, so providing a 4% decrease to stacking. Not, to be honest, the most important one, as I say, but, you know, decreasing the stacking penalty is always useful and helps your divisions fight, you know, a little bit more effectively. So, as I say, if I was to rank them in order of importance, just based purely on the skill that each level of the order of battle pertains to, I would say that core is probably lowest, and then the most important being army group, then division, then army, and then theatre, and then core. That's how I would personally rank them, but, you know, they're all useful. It's always good to have this built in. So, following on from that, we then have the impact of traits. So, part of the reason why I want to do this as Italy is a lot of our generals have a large amount of traits as Italy. So, and I had to pick someone that I can't pronounce, Alberto Duca di Bergamo. Let's butcher the name, why not? 100% of the impact of his traits will directly impact the unit that he's a part of / in. So all of these percentage bonuses that you're looking at here, so for example, Logistics Wizard, is giving a 15% supply consumption decrease to this unit. And they're getting 100% of the impact because he's the commander. Now when you jump up to core level, my boy here, Delora Fidenzino, is giving a 50% impact of his traits to the units that are directly under his command. So for example, the impact of Logistics Wizard on the units underneath this general's command would be 7.5%, plus the Logistics Master's another 5%, so they're getting a 12.5% decrease across all 5 of these units. And you can see how this starts to stack up. Then at army level, we're getting a 25% impact from the traits. So, I mean, what's that? 25% of 15? We're looking at what? That's about 4.25? No, my maths is really bad today. 4 point... Yeah, you're looking in the region, aren't you, of about 4%-ish. Yeah. 3.75? Yeah, 3.75. And then Logistics Master is also giving a similar bonus, so about 2.5% at this level. Then at Army Group, the traits are providing a 12.5% bonus to everything underneath them. And then finally, at Theatre level, your traits are giving a 6.25% impact to all of the units under them. So you're getting 6.25% of the bonus impact that this particular trait says. So that 15% bonus, you're passing on 6.25% of that to the units under it. So the way that I personally like to order my order of battle is, I like high skill for the higher levels, so division level and theatre and army group level. And then people with more traits. So for example, let's take a look at Americano copy here. So this guy is the perfect core level commander. He's max skill, so he can't increase in skill anymore because certain leaders have a max skill level. But the one thing that he does have a lot of is traits. He's got Logistics Wizard, Logistics Master, and Logistics Genius. He's also got this one, the Medulla Militar Individual, which gives a 35% increase, as well as Battle Expert and Battle Master, plus a few other quite interesting traits. Now, he'll be passing on 50% of that impact to all of the units under him. So, for example, this unit is getting a lot of that positive impact as well. So, this is an example of the sort of commander that you'd want in core level. Someone that's high in traits, but maybe isn't the highest skill, because as we said earlier, the chance of reserve division, reserve division entering combat, it's less of a problem. I don't think that's as important. Whereas passing on the trait impact is more important. Whereas at an army group level, it's better to have someone with less traits, but a higher skill, because then you're giving the better supply aspect over to your units. Now, there's also a fine balancing act between what leaders you want in certain positions. So, for example, Meze, sure, I could have him leading this, he'd be giving an extra 5% increase on Graziani. But then I'd be missing out on the fact that at a division level, he increases combat efficiency by 5% for each level of his leader skill. So he's my best commander in the army, and he's giving a 30% bonus to this extremely powerful tank division. So we're going to want to keep him in there, aren't we? Exactly. So it all comes down to what you think is best for a particular situation. You might actually disagree with me and think that he should have been an army group commander, to which I say, go for it. If you want your lower level commanders in division level, then do it. In early war, it pays, I find, because obviously as tech and things improve, the impact of your bonuses is going to increase. So in early war, it's normally quite a good idea to have generals with not many traits, but maybe quite high skill, leading frontline units, so that you're able to build traits on them, but still also get more effective units in the early war. It's all a fine balancing act, is what I'm trying to say. And there isn't necessarily a right or wrong way of assigning leaders. It just comes down to what your preference is. As long as you follow the structure of command, army group, army, corps, and then division. I wouldn't recommend skipping one of these. It's just not worth it. You might as well have a full division headquarters, because then you're getting the full impact of the bonuses that we're talking about. So moving sort of moderately swiftly on, we're going to talk a little bit about a few particular traits that I always look for, and a few things that you'd want to avoid. So you don't want to put old guard commanders, like this individual, at a core level, because they're going to negatively impact the experience gain of all of the units under them. Now, if you've got a logistical wizard who's quite high level but has old guard, you might want to put them at a theatre level, or even at an army group level, because the impact of the 10% negative old guard modifier will be much reduced at army group level. So if you're getting a 10% experience decrease from an old guard commander, but that old guard commander is also a level 6, and you want to put them at army group level, that would only mean a 1% decrease to the experience gained at a division level, but obviously be getting a 30% decrease to supply consumption. So that's an example of where an old guard could be quite useful. Personally, I like to put the old guard commanders in command of second tier support units and coastal garrison units. So for example, this very basic garrison unit that I've literally just put on Caligari here for defensive purposes. And the main reason I like old guards for that is that they're quite good at defending, so they can't really move and they're not very good at experience gain. But they do decrease supply consumption a little bit, and they offer dig-in and defense bonuses. So for something like this, where you're defending, a particular spot and you're not expecting to use that division on offensive action, old guards can be quite useful. Another trait to look out for is the logistics wizard. So we've touched on this already, but supply consumption decreases for division and core level with this trait are extremely important, and whenever you can get your hands on a logistics wizard at core level, you want to get as many logistics wizards in at core and army level as you can, because you're building a 50% trait bonus, or sorry, a 50% bonus to all your divisions at core level, and then at army level you're putting a 25% bonus to all of the divisions under them and decreasing the supply consumption. You really want to try and get as many logistics wizards as you can into your army to decrease that supply consumption, because especially in the Soviet Union, where you're going to have issues with supply, in North Africa, where supply can be a problem, you're going to want to have that extra impact, which can be quite useful. And at a division level, you know, decreasing supply is always good. Where is another good example? We're looking for someone like... Yes, so Fortress Buster. Fort attack plus 15% is very useful. So that's used specifically for busting through forts like the Rock at Gibraltar. So if you've got fortress busting units with railway artillery and heavy artillery that are specifically designed to destroy towns, cities, and heavily fortified positions, you're going to want Fort Buster to lead those divisions. And then finally, I think the most important probably trait, at least for Germany and a few other nations, is Battle Expert, because you get a combined arms bonus as well as an experience bonus for your units. And again, you're going to want that at core level. So if you can get Battle Expert in at core level and at division level, then those bonuses can be quite useful in leveling up your leaders a little bit quicker. But those are the main ones. I mean, Engineer for river attack is quite a good one as well to watch out for. And then you've got some more niche ones, so Mountain Master. If you ever see like the Mountain trait or the Winter trait, I like to put those on ski units or on mountain infantry units, because that's actually quite useful on those particular units, because you're complementing the bonuses that you already get with the bonuses that those particular traits confer. You want to assign leaders based on speed as well. So, for example, anyone with the offensive increase. So let's see if we can find a commander with like an attack speed example. Or in fact, I can give you a rundown of what like a perfect commander for like a tank division would be. So this guy here is pretty good as a bog standard. What would make him even better is if we could include... So we get a 5% increase from that, a 15% experience bonus, but if we could give that guy the river crossing bonus, so if we were to chuck into this particular commander, for example, for Italy, they get the MSVN, that gives you attack speed increase, and if we went for Engineer, that gives an attack speed increase of 15% as well. So if you were to chuck those in this, this particular general's repertoire, you'd be getting a 30% speed increase. So obviously you can see that makes quite a big difference to this particular unit. You're getting the 4.5 base and then also a 30% increase from the leader. You can see how, for divisions, for, blitzkrieg nations like Germany, how much of an impact that has. So that's, I think, really covered the main aspects of Order of Battle and why you want it. Radio range is the final major impacting element. So radio range, as we touched on earlier, if a unit moves too far away from its core level command or from the army level, etc., then the ability of that unit to get the bonuses from the command structure above it disappears. So if this unit is all the way over here and away from the command structure, it won't get the bonuses that would be conferred. So that's why you always want to keep your backing support command structure moving up in line with your units. Now, you've seen some of my campaigns and you've seen that I'm not always perfect at doing that myself. Now, obviously, you don't always want to put, like, for example, this unit directly on the front line because there's no actual units in it. I'm quite a big fan of not actually filling out the HQ command. But, in this particular campaign, for example, we've filled out the motorised units, but would I fill out, for example, the cores here? Probably not. I just use them literally for radio range to give the bonuses. And I think that probably covers everything. The only other thing to touch on is that the bonuses that we've talked about for army level, so for the land units, do apply to air and naval units as well. So it's always worth attaching your naval units at least to an army group command so that they get a bonus from the supply consumption decrease. For air units, I generally just attach them to theatre level or army group level. But in specific theatres, I do quite like attaching them at an army level. And Germany gets quite a lot of events around army group specific HQs for its air units as well, which can be quite useful. I think that is everything. I don't think there was anything else I wanted to cover on this. I did want to just quickly say we've finished the army organisation pre-war. So we're looking pretty good, actually, from a standpoint of fighting the British. As you can see, our units are just moving into position in North Africa. And we've also set up our East Africa unit section. Now, we have Spain, so therefore we can supply our units outside of the Mediterranean. And we also have a pretty dominant numerical superiority against the British. We're going to be able to move out from our starting positions quite nicely. And once we, clear up this area with all of our divisions over here, then, we can turn those units back this way and start clearing up all of this. Including, hopefully, being able to move against South Africa and Belgium. So, thank you for watching this guide stroke episode, and I hope it's been useful to everyone that's had these questions before in the past about how the order of battle works. And I will see you on the next episode of the Italy campaign, where we'll begin World War II in earnest against the British. Thanks again for watching. Thanks again. Bye-bye.